Okay, let's jump right in. Picture this, a weekend road trip that turns into an absolute nightmare. Today, we're unpacking an incredible piece of localized folklore where environmental anomalies and psychological terror basically collide. It's an explainer on what's known as the Kashidi Ghat loop. Let's see what we're actually dealing with here.
Now, I want you to put yourself right in these riders' shoes for a second. Imagine driving at full speed, throttle open, for 2 whole hours on a stretch of highway that realistically should only take 15 minutes. Literally, we're going to break down this wild geographic anomaly where space and time just kind of seem to warp. It's a truly fascinating look at how a simple night ride can devolve into an inescapable labyrinth.
Section 1. The Monsoon Night Ride.
So the first monsoon rains hit, right? You get that amazing smell of wet soil, the temperature drops, and we have 2 completely different mindsets entering the picture. You've got Akash, who sees the monsoon as the absolute perfect excuse for a thrill-seeking night ride down to the Konkan region. But then there's his friend Pankaj, who's just feeling this creeping dread. He knows these mountain roads at night are isolated, pitch black, and notoriously dangerous. This contrast is absolutely crucial because what's about to happen shatters both the blind skepticism and the active paranoia equally.
Okay, so it's exactly 11 p.m. Defying all the local wisdom, they head out from Pune on a bullet motorcycle, driving straight into the dead silence and biting cold of the mountain passes. And almost as soon as they cross the city limits, civilization just fades away. It's replaced by miles of absolute silence and these massive, heavy shadows cast by the dense trees.
Which brings us to Section 2, the tea vendor's warning.
They decide to stop at this lonely little tea stall to warm up, and an old, wrinkled vendor there gives them a pretty dire warning. The moment he hears they're heading through the Kashedi Ghat, he just freezes. He tells them, we aren't just talking about normal traffic accidents on that steep pass. People are encountering things out there that completely defy explanation.
He calls this phenomenon a Chakva. And here's the thing, it's not just your standard ghost story. It's essentially an environmental trap where the very first monsoon mist creates a literal maze. Travelers get stuck, going in circles on the exact same road, taking the exact same curves over and over without ever making an inch of progress. It is literally an endless loop designed to completely drain you of your fuel, your energy, and honestly, your sanity.
Moving on to Section 3. Trapped in the Chakva.
Well, despite the vendor's really clear warning, Akash just waves it off as pure superstition. But the environment? Yeah, it has other clans. By 2:30 a.m., they are deep in the pitch-black Kashedi Ghat. The cold is piercing, the silence is heavy, and the timeline just stops making sense. Pankaj is talking constantly just to keep Akash awake, but as they chat, time is inexplicably slipping away.
And then the horrifying truth sets in. Pankaj realizes they haven't made any progress at all. He thinks back to the tea vendor's exact warning, checks his watch, and looks at the bike's trip meter. Now, Pankaj knows this specific stretch of the mountain pass really well. To put it in perspective, it should take them maybe 15, maximum 20 minutes to clear. But they've been driving constantly for almost 2 hours since the tea stall. The road just isn't ending. No way.
Let's look at Section 4, the road to nowhere. So Akash is trying his best to rationalize it, right? He's blaming the thick fog, saying it's just making the road feel longer. But things go from bad to worse real quick. First, they pass a broken banyan tree with a red cloth, a tree they had already passed half an hour ago. Then, out of nowhere, the engine completely dies. The kickstart goes totally slack, even though they have a full tank of gas. They decide they have to walk to find help, so they point their phone flashlights down and realize the paved asphalt road has actually vanished. Literally vanished. They are suddenly standing deep inside a dense, thorny forest.
Sweeping their flashlights over the dark bushes, they hear the strange rustling sound. The beam of light catches something horrific. There, squatting in the wet mud, is a grotesque old woman. She's got unkempt white hair, glowing cat-like eyes, and this unnaturally wide, just terrifying smile. The sheer shock is so much that it completely overloads their nervous systems. Both men just collapse right there into the thorns and black out entirely.
All right, Section 5, the morning after.
Fast forward and the morning light completely resets everything. It almost makes the whole night feel like a crazy hallucination. When the sun comes up over the mountains, they wake up. The horrifying woman? Gone. That thorny jungle that trapped them?
Actually, scratch that. It's completely gone too. They're just lying on the side of a perfectly normal paved road. And here's the craziest part. A shaking Akash goes over to kickstart the motorcycle, and the engine just roars to life on the very first try, running perfectly.
But you see, the Chakva leaves permanent scars. It fundamentally changes both of them. Pankaj, the guy who was reluctant from the start, falls gravely ill with a high fever and just completely withdraws from his life. And Akash, the bold thrill-seeker who literally laughed at the warning, he swears off riding his bike at night forever. The psychological impact of being trapped in that loop proves to be incredibly real, even if the road went right back to normal.
Now here's the kicker. There's actually footage circulating online of these exact types of phenomena. We're talking videos showing riders trapped on seemingly straight roads for hours, sometimes with fleeting glimpses of smiling figures hidden in the fog. So whether you look at this as a fascinating case of collective psychological fatigue or a genuine supernatural anomaly, it forces you to ask a pretty unsettling question. When the fog rolls in on a lonely mountain pass, are you really sure you're moving forward? Think about that on your next midnight drive.